With us now, Democratic strategist Matt Bennett and CNN senior political commentator David Urban. David, it was notable because Vice President Vance went on that stage and specifically said, you know what, we're not doing purity tests here. I'm not going to condemn anyone. That was on stage in front of the crowd. He did an interview, though, privately, separately, where he did speak out against some of the hate that's been put forth by some of the people there. He said, let me be clear, anyone who attacks my wife, and his wife, of course, is of Indian heritage, Indian American, whether their name is Jen Psaki or Nick Fuentes, they can eat blank. That's my official policy as Vice President of the United States. He also said anti-Semitism and all forms of ethnic hatred have no place in the conservative movement. He went on to say, I think it's disgusting. So why not say that on stage, David? If you believe that, why not say it in front of the people there?
Yeah, John, I wish he would have. I think what Vivek said was spot on. Look, the Republican Party is a big tent. We've got plenty of space for lots of people, lots of divergent views. However, views that are people who are filled with hate in their heart, we have no room in the party for those types of people. Nick Fuentes, his rhetoric, the things he says, is reprehensible, should be condemned by all. And so allowing that kind of nascent anti-Semitism and anti-lots of things that he spews to foment is something that's regrettable. I wish JD would have come out and spoken more strongly against it. But the reality is that the crowd, right? This is, you have Bannon, you have Steve Bannon there, you have Megyn Kelly there, you have other people there on that stage talking about this. Those folks they can take different positions because they're looking for clicks, they're looking for followers. They have a different role in this big play. The vice president is looking to potentially, he has not announced his candidacy yet, but potentially run. And that MAGA coalition, John, as you know, is very, very fragile. There are lots of different divergent people. They all followed Trump for a certain reason, one reason or another. Whether they will follow JD Vance into 2028, let alone any Republicans in 2026, is yet to be seen. But again, no place for any of it. I wish, his remarks after that to the reporters, you note, spot on. So I associate myself with those remarks, and perhaps wish he would have said those more forcefully at the bigger gathering.
Matt, in your experience, can you walk a line the way that Vice President Vance is trying to walk? What happens to candidates in either party who try to thread this kind of needle, have it both ways?
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, I certainly agree with David that Vance's remarks privately were better than the ones he was not brave enough to give on stage. But it's very difficult to manage a coalition with people that you don't want in your coalition. I mean, think back to when George H.W. Bush had Pat Buchanan running to his right in 1992. And I remember I was on the Clinton campaign, and I remember thinking, oh, we're going to win, when Buchanan gave just a truly hate-filled speech at the convention in 92. It did not reflect what George H.W. Bush was a very good man, believed in his heart, but it did reflect what a big part of that coalition believed. And I think it was a huge turnoff to a lot of swing voters. And that kind of thing is very, very difficult to manage. So I think Vance needs to be much clearer. If he wants to run that party, if he wants to lead the party into the future, which he clearly does, he's going to have to be a whole lot clearer about what he believes and what he believes does belong in American politics and does not. The other thing I'd say is his notion that we are a Christian nation is pretty offensive to people like me who are not Christians, and people like his wife who are not Christians. So I find that to be a bad sign for Vance. If he's going to do this kind of heritage idea rather than the creedal idea, we're a nation based on a creed, not based on heritage, and I think that's going to be trouble for him too.
People should go check out Vivek Ramaswamy, in addition to the speech, wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. It's an interesting read, coming from someone who ran really far to the right in a Republican presidential primary right now. He does stake out some interesting territory. David, different subject. How's the Epstein file release going so far, do you think?
Well, listen, I think this has been a misstep after misstep and missed opportunity by the Trump administration. They you've had the victims who are still waiting for certain documents to be turned over. You have Congressman Massey, obviously, in Ro Khanna waiting for certain things. You've got the MAGA movement waiting for certain things. So no matter what the administration does, it seems like they're making enemies at some level here. John, my take on this has always been the same: dump it all, get it all out there. There's no upside to letting things trickle out and death by 1,000 cuts. Back the dump truck out and dump it all out. The point I've always made, though, is no matter what you put out, no matter how much documents you put out, I think that there's going to be a certain element of the Epstein file crowd that is always going to be dissatisfied. They're going to be unhappy with what's out there because they're looking for some document that says these people did this wrong or this person is guilty. I think that if this case has been investigated very thoroughly, I'd still like to hear from the prosecutors, or I'd like to see why the federal prosecutors gave him the deal they did back then. That's been the question I've been asking from Jump Street. That's the most important thing, I think, is why was Epstein allowed to get away with what he was able to get away with? That none of that I see in these documents. So lot more questions than answers, John.
All right, David Urban, Matt Bennett, all politics, all television aside, I hope you both have a wonderful holiday. You're terrific people. It's always nice getting to talk to you. So thank you. Kate?